Hi everyone, this is Maureen again, and I am recording from the studio in front of the red wall once again. I wanted to do a quick video about how to prepare for your wedding planning journey. The reason for this is because many people ask me this question, I just got engaged, so now what? What do I do? Where do I start? And so I thought it would be a good video to do for someone out there who, we're coming around the holidays, so engagement season is around the corner, which means many people are going to get engaged. And so I figured if I did a video, it might be helpful to somebody who was wondering about it. So here goes. I have a little cheat sheet here because I didn't want to forget anything, so I'll have to take a look at it, and I hope that's okay. So first thing is this. You just got engaged. You are ecstatic. Everybody around you is ecstatic. Everybody's asking you where you're getting. Did you set a date? When are you getting married? And how are you going to do it? And la-di-da. There's so many questions. And at the very beginning, it's very overwhelming because everybody just somehow seems to think that you already know exactly what's going to happen and how you're going to do it. And the reality is that because you don't plan a wedding every day of your life, despite the fact that it's up here somewhere playing on some tape that you've stored in there for 20-something, 30-something years, you're not actually planning a wedding every day of your life. So you don't really know. You have ideas and you have thoughts, and there are so many thoughts that you couldn't possibly make anything out of them if you tried, in that instant. But everybody seems to think that you actually know what you would like to do and, and what's going to happen. So my first tip for you is breathe. You just got engaged. It's exciting. It's fun. And there's just so many things. There's such a flurry of things surrounding it. There's family, there's friends, there's, oh my gosh, all sorts of things. Give yourself time to breathe and to enjoy the fact that you just got engaged and to enjoy your fiance and yourself. And just, this is a new stage of your relationship. So give yourselves time to actually experience it. Give yourself some time to relax, some time to breathe, some time to get used to the fact that you are engaged, and some time to get used to the fact that you're actually going to be planning a wedding of some sort, whatever that is. It will help you get a little bit more objective once it actually is time for planning, as opposed to trying to come up with all these things at the time that you're so excited and can't think straight and can't do anything. So allow yourself the time to relax, to breathe, and to enjoy the experience of being engaged. That's tip number one. Number two, when you actually choose to give yourself time to breathe, what you want to do is schedule a time. So allow yourself a specific amount of time and say, this is great, we're engaged, but we're not going to start planning until such and such a day. What that means is that it gives you a very specific amount of time where you don't have to do anything. So that means you don't even have to think about it in the back of your mind. You don't have to go and have impromptu wedding planning conversations with random people or with friends or whatever it is. You are free in that whole time. If you give yourself 2 months, 3-4 months, you are free in that whole time to just say to people, I'm not planning anything yet. So I'm not even thinking about it or doing anything about it. I'm not starting to plan until, name whatever date it is that you give yourself. That allows you the freedom to breathe. So it's not like you're just breathing, in your mind, hypothetically, and being like, okay, let's relax. But really what's happening at the back of your mind is like, what about this and what about that? And when people talk about it, you're like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. No, you're allowing yourself the room to not be doing anything regarding wedding planning. That will help you. That means when the time comes, your mind will actually be prepared for the planning and you will be able to do it in a more relaxed space. Number 3, I would say when your date comes, the date that you have scheduled to start planning, most people think is that they should just go and start doing the thing. You can't do what you don't know. So the day that you decide that you are going to start planning, say we got engaged January 1st. We are not going to start planning until March 20th. When March 20th happens, you are going to be tempted to go and start the frenzied planning act. What I recommend you do is, instead of doing that, you want to actually like now be present to planning. So sit down. Your first act should be to sit down and think about what it is that you would like your wedding to feel like. That is your first act. That's the first act of planning you should do. Once you have that feeling, everything else will make sense. Because when you start planning, if you start to choose something or to think about something that does not evoke the feeling that you thought about when you actually decided that you wanted your wedding to feel a certain way, you will know that that is not something that you actually want to include in your wedding, if that makes any sense. And that will also help you eliminate very, very many things so that you're not like running around like a chicken with its head cut off and not knowing which way to go. Number 4. This is going to be challenging. For most people it is. But I will say it anyway. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about what you really want and how you feel about what you want. Those two things are not the same. Just because you actually want something and does not mean that you're comfortable with that thing. There is a difference. And if you're not comfortable with it, you can't really enjoy it. It doesn't matter how you do it or what tricks you play in your mind. You cannot enjoy something that you're not comfortable with. So take the time to be honest with yourself and to know what you want and how you feel about what you want. If you want something that is extravagant, think about it. Think about how do you feel about the fact that you want something that's extravagant. Because if you want something extravagant, but you feel guilty about having something extravagant, you are going to have a very difficult time putting together an extravagant event, putting together the extravagant event that you want. And by extravagant, I don't mean like you're just going to go waste money. I mean like you're going to go all out. Do you know what I mean? So you need to know how you feel about the things that you want, because then you can make a decision about A, if you really want those things. Because if you're so uncomfortable, if you think you want something and you're so uncomfortable with it, then maybe you don't really want it. Or maybe you really, really want it, but due to, some external circumstance or internal issue, you're having problems with it. Either way, whatever the case may be, you're able to make a decision about whether you actually want that thing for real or whether you're willing to give it up because you're just not willing to deal with the discomfort enough. Or maybe you want it so much and the discomfort is really driving you crazy, so you're going to do something about the discomfort. But either way, you're actually able to make a decision about what it is that you'd like to do, and you are able to move on from a very well-informed space. I hope that makes sense. Yes, this is about being honest. Be honest about who you really are. Many a time, we have had clients who will come and say, we are not willing to spend more than this because that's just not the kind of people we are. And that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense when that's not really the kind of person you are. If that's just the kind of person you think you're supposed to be, that is not the same thing as who you really are. If you're a high maintenance person, acknowledge that. It will help you. It will help you in your planning process because you are not going to be telling yourself one thing and choosing something different. Or at least trying to choose something different. And you're not going to be driving everybody around you crazy by saying one thing and wanting something different. This is how bridezillas happen, just in case you were wondering. Yes, that is how bridezillas happen. It's unrealistic expectations and not really being completely honest with yourself. If you don't have, for example, if you were, say, working within a tight budget, be honest with yourself about that. And be honest, if you don't like that you're working within a tight budget, be honest with yourself about that. It will help you. Because when you actually start planning and you want things that are way outside of your budget, then there's no pretense about it. You're not pretending that somehow you didn't know, or you thought it would be less, or you thought it would be easier. You go in with your eyes open knowing like, okay, I don't have much, but realistically speaking, if I had my way, I would want more. And so I'm probably going to be predisposed to wanting things that are a little bit outside of my budget. That will help you, and it will make your planning process so much easier. And all the people who are helping you, your friends, relatives, bridesmaids, parents, whatever, whoever is pitching in, vendors and all that stuff, they will be so glad that you are actually aware of that. It will help you as you're making your decisions. 5 things. This is a list of 5 things. Those were just 5 tips that I just given you. If you are able to do all those 5 things, if you go step by step and follow these 5 tips, your planning process will be a lot more pleasant. And it's not foolproof because you're also learning as you go. So give yourself a break and understand that, because again, you don't do this every day. You're bound to make some mistakes. You're bound to not do it so well and not so correctly, but that's okay. And when you figure out that that's actually what's happening, give yourself a break and, get up and try again. And by the time the 6 months to a year is over, if you actually continue to remind yourself of these things, you will be fine. You will actually find that it's really not as serious and as detrimental and dramatic and crazy as it sounds. All right, I hope these are helpful to someone out there who is wondering or will be wondering soon enough about what they should do. And if you like this video or you found it helpful in any way, please give it a thumbs up and definitely send me a comment and let me know what you're thinking. I'm always thrilled to hear from you guys. And yes, please don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk with you guys soon. I wish you happy planning and be free to be you. Cheers.